folks, welcome to Myers Metal Detectors, located in sunny Tampa, Florida, where we sell nothing but fun and adventures, treasure hunting gear, and anything you can imagine for metal detecting. Give us a call, 813-237-1939. Happy hunting and dig deeper.
Live from sunny Florida, it's Treasure Talk.
Hey friends, welcome.
Hey, Philip.
Hey, welcome to another exciting adventure on Treasure Talk. And let's get started because we got a cool guest tonight, so let's get her going. Today's show is brought to you by your friends at Myers Metal Detectors, where we not only sell fun, but we sell adventure. And of course, the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Treasure Talk guests and members belong solely to the guests and members only, and not necessarily to Myers Metal Detectors, Phil Myers, Jocelyn Myers, or Jeff Monin. And finally, the purpose of Treasure Talk is to promote the hobby of metal detecting and treasure hunting in a fun and informative manner. And we got an excellent show going tonight, don't we, Jeff?
Yes, we do. We certainly do. This is one that everybody's been waiting for. We've been waiting on it.
Yes.
And as y'all know, if you've been following on the page, we got a great giveaway tonight. We're giving away 4 books, and that's pretty good. And that's the book right there, and they're all autographed.
Yes.
So they're a collector's item right from the get-go.
Right.
So the 4 lucky people. So get ready with your fingers ready to text and messenger. So anyway, y'all know him. You've seen him before, and you will see him again. He is a legend on the Treasure Coast. The man has found more stuff than I've even dreamed about. And trust me, I have some wild dreams. So without any more blathering from me, let's bring on our guest tonight, the legend, the one and the only, Terry Shannon. There you go. How you doing, Terry?
Doing well, guys. It's good to see you.
Welcome, Terry. Welcome to the show. And it looks like people have already trying to text and win. Hey, the banner isn't going yet, so you can't win that book yet.
It's the troll.
But just right off the it's the troll. Nice. We missed him. Yeah. Yes. Turn that sound off of that one, Josh, because I can hear.
I'm fixing to block him.
Yeah, but we have to welcome the troll because it's always exciting when we have the troll. Anyway, that's a private joke, Terry. But this is Terry's latest book, and we're going to talk about this one tonight, Treasure Coast by Terry Shannon. And if you aren't lucky enough to win one of the 4 books tonight, we do have them signed, autographed. Thank you, Terry, for doing that. It's always nice when the people say, wow, this is autographed. But we have them in the shop, so they're available. All 3 of Terry's books are in there, and they are excellent books. I haven't read this one completely, but I've read the other 2. So this one I'm about halfway through. Excellent job on that. So do you like being an author?
I'm having fun writing them. I'm a kind of a storyteller, and it's just fun to tell my stories and put them on paper, really.
Yes. Yeah, I guess I imagine that you are a storyteller. You always, when you come to the club, which I hope we get to get you back again when this COVID thing goes away. But you are a good storyteller, and everybody loves your presentation. You're one of the favorite people who spoke at our club here in Tampa. So thank you for doing that too.
Well, we'll get him. He'll be telling some stories. We might as well tell everybody. We've
Absolutely.
got a thing going in mid-November on Treasure Tales, which that's the new part of Treasure Talk. We're going to launch this Thursday night, but we've got a thing set up. We're going down to Sebastian, Florida, Terry's stomping ground, and it'll be me and Phil and Low Tide Tim, and Terry will be there, and Captain Carl Fizz will be in the house, and we're going to have a nice dinner, and we're going to do some treasure telling some stories. So with Terry and Captain Fizz in the house, it's going to be awesome, and it'll probably be done live. So you may just have to cut us a little slack because there may be a cocktail hour beforehand. So,
Nice. Very
but
nice.
it's going to be a lot of stories. So that's something to look forward to. We'll keep you posted.
Absolutely. So I guess, Terry, we're going to get started with some questions for you because our members have sent us questions in, and we'll get started with those. And Jeff is manning the questions from YouTube, and of course, Jocelyn's over on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, you can text type a question in, and we'll try to get it answered. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. Is that okay, Jeff?
Sure, let's get her done.
Yay. So Maria Reese, who's a member on here, asked on Facebook, what tip would you give digging targets quickly on the beach while you're detecting?
That just comes with experience. It really does. I really can't tell you what to do to speed it up, but having a good scoop, I think, is probably number one, and knowing your detector.
Absolutely. And I see you're swinging a looks like a stealth scoop in that picture.
Yes, in fact, I just got it and love it. It's
That's
amazing.
Looks like the 920i, and we do stock that one in the shop. So if somebody wants to use the same scoop that Terry has, we've got those in the shop, and especially with the carbon fiber handle, still a little heavy, but if you have to, you can drag it. Isn't that correct?
Yes, and in fact, dragging is not a bad thing because then you know where you've been.
Absolutely.
I've often thought of even tying a string with some kind of weight behind me to, it's just foolish to go over the same spot twice.
Right.
But getting back to this recovery quickly, one of the things that you have to be aware of, you have to be able to get the pinpoint down. And I never do use the pinpointer myself. I'm so used to that detector, I know right where it's at. But as you're getting used to it, you can just back your detector up until you're right at the very end of it, and then put your foot there. And then all you have to do is scoop, move your detector aside, put your scoop in right in front of your foot, and you should be right on top of the target.
Absolutely. And I see Jeff up there. He's got some fancy handle there. Right, Jeff?
That's right. That's right. These are brand new at Myers Metal Detectors from Anderson Shafts. These are outstanding T-grip handles. You can see this is my stopper scoop and then on my stealth scoop, and you can see it's angled down a little bit. So it just really helps you when you're getting down there to lift them scoops full of sand up in the water and on the beach. It really helps, and this is very strong. It's not going to gouge your carbon fiber handle. It's made for this handle, and it's large enough where it's going to fit well, and it's not going to corrode because it's made out of aircraft grade stainless steel. At least the little screws are, and there's no screw sticking out to slice you open. So I just thought I'd show that, and Phil's got them in stock. He's got them in yellow, green, red,
And black.
and black. Isn't that right? Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a cool product. And actually, that came about because we asked the folks at Anderson to come up with a good handle. Because unlike you, Terry, we're hunting out in the water most of the time over on the West Coast. And
I go out in the water and on the East Coast also, but not like you guys do. And we fight the waves. There's one.
Yeah.
The waves will actually knock you down from time to time, and
Right.
you learn to scoop by standing beside the target, not in front of it, so the waves don't hit your, grab your scoop and hit you in the shins.
Yeah, push your way. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
We just we don't hunt on wavy days like that. We'll hunt up in the dry sand if it's wavy. But absolutely. So
What that indicates to me is you have some common sense. That's something I was not blessed with at all.
well, I don't want to lose my glasses because I learned my lesson that a couple times. Losing my glasses, they're too expensive to let go in the surf. So I try to only hunt on days when we have the wind going in the right direction and the Gulf is calm. But yeah, you guys on the East Coast, you got to deal with some major waves and erosion, and those are good things for you, especially on the Treasure Coast. But we'll get back to that later. But let me keep going down my list. How close? Now, I don't know if you know this. Stuart Stoops is asking, how close can you get to Cape Canaveral with a detector?
I believe that you can go all the way up to the causeway there.
Okay.
There's a causeway, and if you're south of the causeway, you're okay. That's what I have been told. I've hunted up there, and I've gotten very close to the causeway, but not all the way up. But
Now, had you found anything old up that way?
I am not, but I believe that there's some old stuff up there.
Okay. Absolutely. Uh-oh.
Chris, call me back. I'm on the air, please.
Yeah, we've turned all of our phones off, so I don't. Hopefully, won't get interrupted by somebody.
Okay, I'm shutting mine off as we speak.
Hollywood.
You got a question?
That was Hollywood, wasn't it?
Hollywood. Yes. All right. So Randy Goodnose asking if you were to choose one place to live, either Florida or Minnesota, which one would it be and why?
That would be a very tough decision. I live in a very small town, 1,300 people. I've lived here my whole life, other than when I was in the Navy, and when I got out, I went back to school at Morehead State College, and we lived up in Morehead, Fargo area for a while. But I just love the Treasure Coast. I couldn't have found a better place for my wife and I to retire. So I'd be really hard pressed to make that decision. I mean, they're both just very special places.
Okay. So I got a question off of Facebook from Steve Mutimer. I hope I pronounced that right. For Terry, what's the item that you always dig up that isn't valuable but is still fun to dig? It isn't valuable, but it's still fun to dig.
I'm trying to think. Yes, I would say just probably cell phones. You can track the person down, and it always means a lot to get them back to them. And I think it's fun to dig something that you can recover, that you can do a kindness, and then So I would believe that. But I just like to dig holes. I really do. I mean, my last year, about 8 o'clock, I called my wife. It was pitch black, and I said I'm going to be late. Well, I'm already really late. And I said, I'm really into it. I'm digging all kinds of stuff. And she said, well, what are you digging? I said, I have no idea. I can't see it. I didn't, but I'm digging holes, and I wasn't about to leave.
Yeah. I would have to say after reading some of your stuff in the book, if I were to answer that question, would have been all those musket balls. They're not.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good answer.
That's a lot of fun to dig the musket balls like that, just to keep digging them one after the other.
Yeah, the year before that, I got into the bronze ship spikes, and I got almost 100 of those out of one little spot. And I dug there for 3 days, and it's you're holding a piece of history. Even that little musket ball, that's a piece of history. What happened? Was it in a barrel and the ship tipped over, or But 200 and some musket balls, that's a lot of digging.
Yes, and you figure on those ships, they probably have thousands of them.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
We have a question from YouTube from Mermaid Treasure Hunter. She wants to know what's the best thing you've dug in Minnesota, Terry?
I have done really well in the river. The Otter Tail River, when I first started detecting that, I was getting 80 to 100 rings every year out of the Otter Tail for about 5 years. And I got some high dollar ones. I got some, that have been appraised around 12,000, 13,000. I did really well. Other than that, there is a trading post just out of our town, and it's from the Red River Ox Carts. And I got a lot of neat artifacts from that trading post, and some coins. I got 2-cent pieces and everything pretty old. The newest coin I got was 1894, which was pretty darn new. And the oldest was 1864.
All right. Well,
another good thing, if you want to know exactly what the kind of stuff you found up on the Otter Tail, they need to buy the book, Detecting the Otter Tail. That was your second book.
Absolutely.
And Phil's got books in stock too.
That Otter Tail is a wonderful place. I played in that when I was a kid. I grew up on a farm. Otter Tail went right through our property, and I was in that river all the time. And here I'm 80 years old, and I'm still in there. I was in there yesterday. I'm going to go in there tomorrow. And it's a wonderful place.
Yeah, I think that keeps you young, Terry. Well, James T., I guess it's Kochevar. He's saying, Terry, will you bring some of Jean's peanut butter bars next time you come to hunt with Al Carpenter and I.
James Kachiver. He's one of the Minnesota
Yeah.
Beach Boys. And
Okay.
Gene, I came home yesterday from hunting the river, and my wife looked at me and said, "I've got some bad news." And I just sunk. I was wondering what was wrong. And she was out of white syrup and couldn't make me those bars. So this morning, real early, we were at the grocery store and she has white syrup, and I had brand new bars today.
Nice. All right. Well, let me keep going on our list because we got a lot of questions. Tom Becker's asking, what waterproof headphones do you use, and what part of the East Coast have you found the most treasures, and what part the least treasure?
Okay, the least treasure that I found has been south down of Turtle Trails, and I believe that's probably the hottest area to detect. I've only found one Spanish coin at Turtle, and I found that while I was getting the musket balls. But I don't hunt that often. Everything that almost all the Spanish coins I have found have been north of Sebastian Inlet. And the key to finding this stuff, it's all up and down that coast. I mean, it goes all the way down to Miami, and I believe it goes past Cape Canaveral, all the way up. This stuff washes back and forth. The key is being able to read the beach, finding areas. You're not going to find anything if it's too deep and your detector can't reach it. But just being able to read the beach and know about the full moon and the new moon, how it affects you, and the riptides. That's important stuff. It really is, and that'll really increase your odds.
Absolutely. And we had another question off of Facebook, and this is answered in your books, but we'll ask you here. What age were you when you started hunting metal detecting?
I was pretty late. I'd already retired from law enforcement. I've been down, so I would have been about 60 years old, 59, 60 years old when I got started. But I'm one of these people that I don't do things halfway. If I get into something, I go all over, and I spend an awful lot of time out there with that detector. It's a wonderful hobby. And I just had a couple of medical issues this year. I had kidney stones, and I had to have my knee operated on. And both times that I went to the doctor, the nurses were just appalled, or not appalled, but shocked that I was on no medication whatsoever. And an 80-year-old guy is not supposed to be doing that. And the reason I'm able to do that is because of that metal detector, the exercise I'm getting out there on the beach. And then the people you meet. My gosh, you probably made a lot of friends.
Which one? Okay, Jocelyn's handing me questions, and I got yeah, I've already asked that.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I got that. Hey, so let's go to your new book, and let's talk about, since we're talking about when you got started, the why you got started, why and how.
Well, my wife bought me a metal detector years ago, and it was one of these. I think she paid probably $20-25 at I forget what it is.
Pack or bounty hunter.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was as good as a bounty hunter. It was a piece of junk, and it ends up in your closet. And then one day I was actually down in our small town. We still have a meat market where they butcher and meat. It's just an old fashioned butcher block meat place. And he had a metal detector, and sitting there. And I asked him. I said, "What?" It was a Garrett, I think 150, the old green one.
Mhm.
And I said, "What are you going to do with that detector?" And he said he wanted to sell it. And I said, "How much?" He said, $75. I had my billfold a lot quicker than most fast drawers. Brought it home, and he had left the batteries in it, and it was all corroded. And I mentioned it to him. He said, "I'll give you your money back." He's a good guy. And I said, "No, I want the detector." So I took it all apart, cleaned it up, fixed it up, went out in my yard, and every time I would swing it, it would make a noise when it got close to the ground. And I took a step, and it took a noise, and I took about 10 steps, and every time that coil went across the ground, it made a noise. And I got so angry. I figured, I've retired, I've worked hard all my life. I want to detect, and I'm just, I jumped in my car, drove to Fargo, 50 miles, and bought the best metal detector they had at that time, and that was a Mindlab Explorer. I come back home with it, went right out the same place where I had the one I just fixed up, swung it, when it hit the ground, it made a noise. Took a couple of steps, it kept making noise. What it was is I was right over the top of the copper tube that went into my furnace for my propane tanks. And talk about stupid, but it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because I started out with a good detector. And when you start out with a good detector, you're going to find some things, and you're not going to get discouraged. And that detector isn't going to end up in the closet.
Yes.
If you can't afford a good detector, check out a used one or something. You can get twice a detector for half the money, but get a good detector. That's the key.
It is. Start out with a good detector, and if you love the hobby, you're just going to have fun. So that's part of the why. The other thing is the age you are right now.
Read the manual.
Oh yeah, read the manual for sure. But the age you are right now, you're out there doing it all the time. Don't you think detecting has helped you for longevity?
There's no question. It's helped my health. Like I said, and my wife was on some medication. She for her high blood pressure, and she's just a little thing, 105 pounds, and she started walking the beach, and they've taken her off all medication. And the doctor told her to, put a lot of time in. That first year, she did 600 miles. Now she goes over 1,000 miles every year just walking on the beach. But I tell her she's wasting time. She should be swinging a detector.
Absolutely.
That answers two questions from YouTube about whether Gene detects or not. Clyde Clinic wants to know if you got any tips about the Equinox, Terry.
The Equinox is a heck of a detector. In fact, I got called up by Mind Lab yesterday while I was detecting, and asked me, my opinion of the machine and what, some things that we may suggest. But I am very impressed with the Equinox. I used the Mind Lab Sovereign for years, and I did really well with it. That's a wonderful machine. But the Equinox, it's light. The only problem that I have seen with it is the ears on the coil. I broke 3 coils that first year, but I'm out there. One was totally my fault. And one of the mistakes I think people make on the Equinox or any detector, every time I'm with a group of guys and I find something, they'll come up and they say, what does it read? And that is a mistake to get hooked up on those numbers. It really is. The Equinox is very accurate, down to 8-9 inches. The readings are right on. But you get farther deeper than that, and the readings then kind of go. Plus, these readings, you don't know if that's the only thing down there underneath your coil. It could be something else. I am a firm believer on the beach, dig it. I don't know how many times I've seen a guy stand there and he's running his coil back and forth over there, watching the numbers. Then he'll move 90 degrees and he's watching the numbers, trying to decide whether to dig or not. It'd be quicker for him to just scoop it up and look at it. I just don't understand.
Absolutely. So that's a tip, especially on the treasure coast. Just if you're getting a positive signal, just dig it. And probably if there's a lack of signals, I would dig the negative ones too.
I got a platinum diamond ring, I think last year or the year before, it read 3. And after I recovered it, I later put it back down again, and it read a solid 3 on the Equinox. That's a low reading, and it's, yeah, and there was nothing wrong with it. On the musket balls, when I was digging those, very seldom did I get a clear signal where it would beep. I was just getting, you get any kind of change. And when you're in a real target-rich area, listen carefully, and if it changes, one way and it changes the other way, it just makes a little different sound. Dig it, And on the musket balls, I dig one, I get a musket ball, so I take another 2 scoops, and one time I got 5 musket balls out of one hole. So it's I'm into digging apparently, but it's I'm finding stuff that other people are passing over, and that makes a big difference.
Right.
All it takes is one good target to make your year.
Absolutely. So I've got questions on the gear you use, and we've already talked the scoop you're using, that 920i scoop, as I saw that's the hybrid with the small holes in the rear end, the stealth. Now, you're using on the beach mostly the Equinox now then?
Just about exclusively the Equinox. I run into a situation 2 years ago where it was right after a full moon, and the tide was receding. It wasn't coming up as far. And about mid-beach, I got into it, just a ton of coins, green coins, old coins and that. And I gridded it off. And I got 3 days or 3 or 4 days to do this before the tide comes back up. And I spent the whole day gridding it off and recovered a lot of stuff. Went back the second day, and that's when I got that Carlos Nuana, coin, 1544. And I actually got 2 of them. And I spent the whole day grading it again. And it wasn't that big an area, maybe the size of a house or something like that. And the third day I hit it again, and I totally cleaned it out. My thoughts is what a person should have is a pulse machine. And you, at least in your vehicle, on a situation like that, if I'd had a pulse machine, don't you think that maybe after I cleaned it all out, there might have been something 3 or 4 inches a little bit deeper down there? I mean, it was a target rich area. And so I did. Pulse machine, I haven't used it much. I did field test one for Fisher, and it should be something I believe right now in your arsenal. If you use it once or twice a year in that type of situation, it may pay for itself 10 times over.
Soon it will be in my arsenal. As soon as they start making them again, it's going to be in my arsenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, I got a question here from Mark Hoover, and actually he's an award-winning author now. He won an award I haven't posted in the American Digger magazine. I think he was #1 story.
Yes, he was, and then I think at 2 different places he was. Mark's a pretty sharp guy, and
Yes,
I know Mark real well, and he's a great fellow.
Yeah, so I haven't posted that picture yet, but I took a picture on my computer to post that because it's in the latest American Digger magazine. And he's asking, who has the best ring collection, Terry or Gene?
He asked that because he knows the question. Jean by far. She gets first choice of everything. And I mentioned in my book, I don't know if you got to it, Phil, where I had found this ring. It was an 18-karat gold ring. And, I walked down to the water, switched it off to kind of clean it up. And I looked, and here come my wife. So I just held it in my hand. And, she wanted to know what I found. I showed her the ring, and she put it on her finger. It fit, and it was gone. I never even got to put it in my pocket.
They always do.
Yeah. What's really funny is I was invited to talk on a new program that's going to be on the Discovery Channel in November. I don't know the dates. They haven't got a hold of me yet. But they interviewed a whole bunch of people. I was one of the, just a Me Too type thing. But anyway, I took a bunch of Spanish coins. I took some artifacts. I took, I had a lot of Spanish stuff. And and I took my wife's ring box. And they took a ton of pictures of her ring box. And I tell everybody my wife's rings are going to be on the Discovery Channel in November.
That's cool. That'll be good for the metal detector business for sure. So we're back to the gear again. Now down here in Florida, you're primarily using your Equinox, but up there in Wisconsin, what are you using?
I'm in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But, well, I've got an Equinox 600 and I've got an Equinox 800. The 800 filled up full of water. And so lately in the river, I've been using my AT Pro. And that's a good detector. It's a real good detector. It's price reasonable and it's easy to operate. And I've had no problem with it in the water. I've already, I think, just a couple of gold rings I found with it now.
Absolutely. That's an excellent detector, especially for fresh water. I think your Equinox does better on salt water because of the multi-frequency. And back to Mark Hoover just said that Jocelyn Myers needs to have a ring collection like that. She does. She has a huge ring collection, and for some reason they always fit. Every single ring fits. I don't know what that is, except for this one here. This one I found. I have 13 fingers, so it's unusual for me to find a ring that fits me. But she has a huge ring collection. All righty, folks. So let's keep going down. Jeff, if you have some questions from YouTube, just jump in anytime, buddy.
Well, some of the questions from YouTube, I know we're on the list, so we'll get to them.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get back to the Treasure Coast, because that's what everybody wants to know about. Now, you're down here primarily in the winter, correct?
I come down around the 1st of October, and we used to go back, the 1st of May, and now I'm staying almost to the end of May.
Oh, okay.
And that's a prime time. It really is. The sand moves, it heads south, during the summer, and it comes back up north during the winter.
Yeah, and
maybe it's the other way around. I'm not.
I've always said it's better to hunt in the winter time because after a hurricane, I mean, it's great if you can get on the beach, but most of the time the roads are shut down. You can't get out onto the beach. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. You'd have to, know somebody that you can stay with. But
Right. If you
I'll
live
show
there,
you this is a first Spanish coin that I ever
up a little. There you
found.
go.
Yeah, it's a 1701 Spanish 2 real. And I found that right in front of our camper. And that was the second year that we were down there. And we had a storm, 3-day storm. And I mean, it wasn't a hurricane or it was just a high winds for 3 days. And it was phenomenal. I found 5 gold rings. I had a 5-gallon pail out there, probably half full of sinkers. I found 141 silver coins. And I found this 2 real. I had to put in this bezel.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Steve Hodges down did this for me. But this is my very first. You only get one first.
Awesome. Well, Michael Boyles is asking, what was your job or position in the Navy?
I was a radar man. I run radar, and maybe can I elaborate a little bit? I read the question. I read the questions that some of the people were going to ask me, and one of the items that come up, is what did I do to this little toe of mine? It sticks straight out. And I was thinking about that. When I went into the Navy, I went in, and when you're standing at boot camp, and in the old days things were a little bit different. And the master chief come by, and he took one look at my foot, and he said, "We can cut that toe off." And I said, "You're not touching that toe." I was very emphatic. And then I went in, served on an aircraft carrier. I was a radarman, and then when the carrier went into port, I stood shore patrol. I was a shore patrolman, and I started counting days when I had, I think, 730 some days to go. I marked it off because I had, I was married, freshly married, 2 little kids, and got down to the last day, the very last day. I left the ship at 4 o'clock. I had to go back at midnight, and I was out. My wife had come down on the bus or the train, and we were going to take a trip home together. It was really kind of exciting. And they called me at 8 o'clock and said, "Come back and sign the papers. You've been extended for another year." I said, "I'm not signing nothing. I get out in 4 hours." Well, I went back overseas, but before I went, I rushed down to the doctor and told him that little toe was really bothering me. Could they cut it off? I was willing to give up a toe for my wife. It just that's true love, fellas.
That is.
Well, we have something in common, Terry, because I was a radarman on an aircraft carrier as well in the Navy.
Oh, really?
Yep, USS Kitty Hawk.
Okay, I am familiar with that. That's the one that's down at Texas right now, right?
The Kitty Hawk's been decommissioned, and it may be down there. I'm not sure.
I think it's decommissioned, but I think they haven't made a museum of it. I believe that's the one.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I worked in CIC.
Well,
I
that
was up in Tack Lot, right up behind the bridge up there. That's where I worked.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Phil.
Okay, so
yeah, that question was asked by Rick Tumbleson, a friend of mine, and he was asking about your pinky toe. Let me have the book. I showed that to my wife, so that's an interesting story. All righty, so let me keep going down my questions here. When you survey a beach, what do you look for?
Well, I've got the advantage. I live right within walking distance of the beach. We used to camp. We had a fifth wheel camper, camped right on the beach. Every day I go north or south, and I run into these accesses and look for it. I'm looking for low areas. If you and everybody I think knows what a cut is. When the winds come out of the north, it'll kind of move the sand, and you'll get like a cliff. Sometimes they're just huge, and of course those are wonderful. But when you get that straight east wind all the time, you've heard them talk about riptides, to be very careful. Well, the waves come in, and then they kind of form up and they go back out, and it kind of just digs, like I call it a bowl, but it digs a trench. So when you're looking down the beach, look for where the water comes in farther than most of it. If you look most of the time, the beach is just kind of a straight line, but about halfway down there, you see where the water is going in farther. Well, that's a riptide. It has washed stuff out. And those are phenomenal. I mean, I found one time 11 rings in one riptide, 5 of them gold, and one was a 2-carat diamond.
Now, are you hunting in the water, or I think my sound might have been up to a little too loud there. So give me some feedback. But are you're hunting mostly the wet sand, or are you hunting?
Most of the wet sand. But I learned something a couple of years ago. Jerry and I were hunting, and it was right, during a full moon. And so we were getting the big plus tides, and we found 5 8 reals, Spanish coins, 8 reals, laying right on top of the sand, right above the high tide line. And if you get out there and you notice that, the waves come in, they always come into a certain spot. But then about every 10th or 12th wave, you get that great big one. It's just a surge. It comes way in. And I believe the one coin that I found was just a beautiful coin. And I believe that got washed out. So I hunt the wet sand. I like to start about 3 hours before low tide. And I follow the tide out, and I follow the waves out. Actually, I get wet, a lot. And as the tide is receding, and going out, it's dropping sand, and if you ever on a beach and you'll see where it's kind of a steep angle down to the water, when the tide goes all the way out, that angle isn't there anymore. It's dropped that much sand. So by following those waves out, you can really, get some area that's going to be covered in just a short period of time. And recovery stuff, you're going to get hit by a wave and then you dig the target and that. But on the full, when we have a full moon or a new moon, I spent about a week then hunting high, way up high, and just travel the whole coastline because it washes stuff in. And I travel a lot. Everybody asks what's your favorite spot. I've got a few favorite spots, but I'll drive by those favorite spots every day if I can find one where there's a low area or there's a riptide or something like that. Those really pay off. They really do. Am I being clear? Can you understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Now, you like to hunt the full moon or no moon because then you'll have the extreme negative tides.
Yeah, you get out farther, but it also goes in farther, and it washes you. And a lot of that stuff is not being washed in; it's being washed out. A lot of the stuff has been recovered, and when they were recovering it, the pirates were attacking them and stuff like that. So if they recovered any amount of treasure at all, they buried it, and keep for safekeeping. So a lot of the stuff, this coin here, come out of the dunes. That 1711, that great coin I found there, that's a dune coin. And I've got a bunch of ones that the ones that come out of the dunes are green, really green. The ones that get washed in are black colored, really black.
Right, and it could be in the dunes today, but it's under so much sand, your detector's not going to hit it. And then when the extreme tides come in, they pull some sand out, and then it's exposed.
Yeah, I tell everybody jokingly, I'm probably the only fellow that lives in Florida that prays every day for bad weather.
That's a good one. Okay, this is a good question. How long a stretch of beach do you generally hunt on a typical day?
I have a deal in my phone, and it keeps track of my steps and my miles, and I'll usually average 6 to 8 miles every day. But if I have a day where I'm doing maybe 2 miles or 3 miles, it's because I hit some stuff. And when I hit stuff where I'm in a target-rich area, I'm going so slow it won't even show up on my phone. I've had it where I walked, I know the item I went to was a mile walk, and I got there and I just dug all day long, moving all day long, come back and I got 2 miles on my phone. I go in that slow.
Oh, okay. You're just low and slow then, huh?
Yep.
Okay. All righty. And I got a question here from Rick Tumbleson again. How do you clean your Spanish coins?
That's a good question, and there's several ways to clean it. You can actually just wrap it in tin foil, spin on it, or use vinegar and hold it, and then baking soda, or electrolysis, where you take a small charger and you hook up one side to a spoon or a metal object and the other one to the coin, and just put it in salt water. But mostly, like your chargers for your phone, if you were to, that will work. You could take one of them and split it up. But it's too much amperage, and you have to be very careful. You have to, kind of let it cook for a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes and then bring it out and clean it off. And otherwise what happens, it actually takes the impurities out of the coin and you'll come out with a coin that's very pot marked. And the easiest is using muriatic acid. Muriatic acid on a 50-50 solution, and that works really well.
Yeah, and that brings us up to Jeff. We were talking about the biscuit.
Okay.
You had a picture of it in the book there, the biscuit, and that's how a lot of the coins come out. Then, why don't you elaborate on that?
Okay, the biscuit is extreme. There's a lot of coins that I know what they are when I see them because I've seen so many. But there's a lot of them that you can't. People used to pick them up and throw them back in the water. Thought they were good skipping stones. And but like this one here, I found it was really corroded. My first coin, but I could still make out the cross. And the biscuits it's just corrosion. And the longer I got some stuff. I should have brought it up. Some incrustations that I take, and you'll find stuff in the crustaceans. I had a big lump of coral, and I put it in olive oil. And they say olive oil will be very gentle, but it takes a long time for it to eat away at that. And I forgot it and went back to Minnesota, and so it was in there for almost a year. And I found it was very kind of spongy. And I put it in my tumbler, and it was a beautiful silver bracelet that I think goes way back to the 1700s.
Mm-hmm.
But the biscuits, those are ones that have been down for a long time, and they're really kind of extreme.
Yeah, it's in the book here. Show that page.
Yeah, the coin to the right there, that's at 1711. That's a beautiful coin. The biscuit, we don't know what's in it. It hasn't been opened. That actually belongs to a friend of mine. He's an archaeologist, and he wanted me to take it down to Steve Hodges at West Bay Trading and have him clean it. And so we don't know what's in there. I have another one like that, and I can make out the face of Jesus, and it's really kind of neat. I'm not going to clean it. I think it's so neat that I'm going to leave it like that.
Yeah, I think it's cool. A lot of times to leave the artifacts in the condition they came. If you can just make out a little bit of it. I'm kind of against cleaning, but I understand cleaning the coins on the shipwreck because it just makes the story that much more.
It does. It really, when they're really encrusted, they really have no value unless you know exactly what it is. You have to clean those.
Yeah, and speaking of that, and shipwrecks finds, Jim Tippett, he's going to be on our show, I guess, on September the 12th, and he's found quite a bit.
13th.
The 13th.
He's got a story to tell. He makes me look sick. He really does. Jim's.
Yes,
he's got a heck of a story to say, and I'm not going to, let the secrets out. But he's made it. He's arrived.
Yes, I've got that magazine with all those gold coins in it, and that one was the fastest selling magazine from American Digger in my shop. I mean, it sold out immediately. So
I haven't talked. I've hunted with Jim, and he and I actually tested that new Fisher detector together. But I haven't asked him. I'm going to ask him if he ever went back with a pulse machine there, because I'm sure that he found this in a small area, and it would be interesting to know that if he went back, during that time frame. Sometimes your window of opportunity is really, really narrow. If you get 2 or 3 days, that's really unusual. Then most of the time, one tide can make a difference.
yes, can bring in more sand, I guess, cover everything back up.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the next question here. How often do you give an area to produce before moving on to another area? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did, and that's kind of an open base. If I'm finding old stuff, I will stay there a day, 2 days, 3 days, as long as it's producing something, or there's a chance of it producing something. If I'm into an area that's everything I'm finding is modern, I'm just not that interested in finding modern stuff. A ring could pop up, but it's just, I like the old stuff. I like the Spanish stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's times though that you're wasting your time looking for the Spanish. You might as well go for the modern.
Right. And that leads us to his next question was, how often does Jean get your finds?
Anytime she wants them. She gets first choice. I'll tell you a sad story. I mean, this, and I don't mean to put make everybody depressed or anything like that. but I sold my Harley Davidson motorcycle to buy her wedding ring. You
Wow.
realize what that Harley Davidson would be worth now, and since then I've really made it up. I've given her a lot of rings.
Now, you mentioned that you used the Fisher AQ,
Yes, yep, I field tested it.
and what did you think of it on the East Coast?
I was impressed with it. I really was. The only problem that I had with it, and I've had 5 surgeries on my arms, 3 on my right and 2 on the with the rotator cuff. And with the large coil, I had trouble with swinging it and keeping it level, and I'd get some palsy. With a small coil, I got none. But with the large coil, and I think with that, if I was to use that, I'd have to have a like a swingy thing or some type of
Sling. Yeah.
yeah.
So, was it at the end of your swing?
Yes. Yep. When it turned around and to come back, and if I could hold it, and I went both hands and held it, and then slowed down a little bit, and I wouldn't get that. So it would pulse when you change the height. 1 inch makes a big difference.
Right.
I have a terrible swing anyway. I probably have the worst swing out there on the treasure post.
But it's not about the swing, as your success will prove that fact. So, the other question: how about the depth on it? How did it compare with your Mind Lab?
The depth was good. Really, I was impressed with the depth. I'm really impressed with the Equinox and the depth. I mean, sometimes I get some incredible depth out of that thing, but the pulse is going to go a little bit deeper. 2 or 3 inches can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like Jeff is going to pull some names there.
Yes, indeedy, we are. We are, and 4 lucky people are going to win the latest book that Terry has out, and it will be autographed by the legend.
Absolutely.
And so this will be a collector's item, and it's going to be some of the best knowledge you'll ever get. So with that being said, how we do it is we've already got 4 names through a random name picker. Pick 2 from YouTube, 2 from Facebook. When your name is called, you have 3 minutes. You can either text either Phil or myself with the numbers going on the ticker across the bottom of the screen, or you can Facebook Messenger us. Now, please say your name and you are here, and I will tick you off the list. If you don't respond within the 3 minutes, then we'll move on to another name. And then the procedure is, and the only acceptable way to claim your prize is to email treasuretalkshow@gmail.com with your info, your name, address, phone number, all that kind of good stuff, and we'll get your prize right out to you. I will get out to you tomorrow. So with that being said, let's draw some names. So everybody get your fingers ready. Okay, what we have, I'm going to call 4 names, and we'll wait for them to text or messenger, either Phil or myself. You have 3 minutes. So at 7:51, your time is up. Terry Wright, Stuart Stoops, John Brantley, and Gary Toledo. If y'all are watching, y'all are winners.
I think I know all of those people. That's awesome. And
I believe Stuart Stoops just bought a book from me.
yeah, I know them all. And for you folks who didn't win, of course, we have them in the shop. And I had Terry sign them for me too. So you'll be able to get one in the shop too if you come in or go on my website. We've got them on there too. I think we've got all 3 of them on there. So you can get that. And I think it's a valuable book to read. And I have read them, and Terry's a good writer. And you'll be, I'm sure, happy that they're signed for you too. So
must be a collector's item, Phil.
Yes, for sure. And it's good for.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an excellent book. I really like it. All right, well, let me keep going on my questions while we're waiting for the people to sign in.
Did
Or
you get John Brantley?
did he text you?
Yeah, he said his phone.
Did he text you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have John Brantley, Jeff.
Did he text?
Yes. All right, and let me keep going here with my questions. If you have another one, text in. Let me know, Josh. Oh, Terry, have you on your Equinox? Have you tried any of the Coil Tech coils?
No, I haven't. I've been just using. I haven't tried any different coils at all. I've got a small, like a 3 or 4 inch coil. It's a Mine Lab coil, yeah, and I've used that in the river to get down between the rocks.
Okay.
But I have not tried any of that. I should. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, well, they've been hard to get a hold of. That's what I was going to mention right now. I think I have a couple of the 12-inch coils, or not 12, the 15-inch coils that, of course, will cover more ground, go deeper, but then it's a little heavier to swing. But I have a couple of the 15-inch coils in stock, but the other 2 coils are, of course, out of stock right now. So don't buy them on my website. I think I've got them marked as out of stock, but I do have some of the 15s still left that weren't pre-ordered. So if they want that, they can get it. Why don't you tell us about the coquina over on the East Coast?
Because the coquina is a reef, and this renourishment thing is just raising havoc. When we first started coming down to the Treasure Coast 20 years ago, we'd see porpoises in close to shore, and fishermen did much better. And this sand washing out from this replenishment covers that reef, and it kills them. But I tell you, when you get down to the coquina reef, it is good. I got a ring this last year. When I first got back, it was just phenomenal. Boy, did I clean house. I got a lot of gold rings, and I found an area where we had that minus tide was going out, and I was right on top of the coquina. And I found this ring. It's with the old onion blossom design, and I took it down to Steve Hodges. He's got an expert, and he said the ring predates, the 1715. It could be all the way back to a 1500 ring.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Philip, the only one that did not, Gary Toledo must not be watching. The other 3 have claimed their prize. So the next name is Mermaid Treasure Hunter. Cricket, if you are in the house, text or Facebook Messenger. They're one of the numbers down there. So at 7:55, your time is up. Cricket.
All right, so we got 3 of the 4. So the 4th one has 3 minutes now. And looks like somebody texted something. Yes, Cricket is in the house. He just texted me. I'm here at Cricket. So looks like we got the 4 winners. Awesome.
Well, I certainly hope they enjoy the book.
Absolutely. It's an excellent book. Especially if you're here in Florida and you want to hunt the East Coast. That's one to have for sure. And folks, if you didn't win, they're still available. And they're right, Terry.
No matter where you're at, the techniques are sound.
Yes.
The wisdom is sound, and it makes no difference whether you're on the west coast of Florida, east coast of Florida, east coast United States, west coast United States. The same principles apply. The wisdom is sound, so you all have done good for that. Now, all the winners, make sure you email with your info, because I'm not going to send it unless you do. So email, and I know I'm a horse's patootie because of that, but it's just a lot easier. There's less mistakes. Email your info, and we'll get them out to you.
Absolutely. And, Terry, we talked a lot about hunting conditions and times of the year and wind direction. Now, you had mentioned king tides. Why don't you tell the members about those?
The king tides?
Yes.
It's just a bigger tide. It comes in farther. And if it hits the dunes, I mean, you'll find spots where it has hit the dune and it's digging into the dunes. And my God, man, that's a gold mine. I mean, just get excited, stay right there. It just this coin came right out of the face of the dune. I probably missed it 3 or 4 times. I was going back and forth, and it was actually on the very base of the dune, and that dune had to be 10 foot high, and that's your big king tides. It'll do that kind of damage.
Absolutely. So that's a good time. And so people need to keep a watch on the wind direction, the tides, the time of the year. And they'll have a better opportunity for success. Now, let me keep going on my list here because it looks like our time is going fast. Tell us a bit about your hunting partner, Jerry.
You know, he kind of keeps to himself, but there is never a better partner in the world. I mean, I love that man. I mean, he's just he's young enough to be my grandchild, you know, and we're just a heck of a team, and we've really done well. And Jerry is the most unselfish man that I've ever met. I mean, if he gets into something, I get called immediately. He doesn't clean it out first and then call me. I mean, I get called immediately, and I do the same thing to him. If I get one spot that looks real good, he's going to get the first call. You know, heck of a part. And he's the guy that has done my videos. You know, he's really an artist when it comes to the videos and that stuff.
Right. Has he found some gold coins also?
Yes, he has. A couple of years ago, I went home, and less than a week later, he called me and he said he just found a gold escudo. And about 10 minutes later, he called me up and said he found two more stuck together. And then the fourth one, he called and said that he got the fourth coin and a gold escudo. All of them 8 escudos. One with a 1715 date, another one was a 1711 out of the Lima. And you know, he found a bunch of reals and some other artifacts and that stuff, and the tide was coming in. He called another friend of ours, and they had a quick sandwich, and as the tide went out, they found nothing. Filled it up in one tide.
Jeez. That was a one day event. And what do you think the value of the 8 escudo was?
At the 8 escudo, the one that's dated 1715 went on. Well, there's one that just like that went on auction. I think that sold for 94,000.
94,000.
I believe that was the price. I could be wrong on that, but that's the one that sticks in.
Oh, that's incredible. So one coin could really change your day. Absolutely.
We got a question from YouTube, Philip.
Go right ahead.
It's from Madison, Maine. And he would like to know, he says, I only get to the beach once a year for 3 days here in Maine. I usually do well in the dry sand, but this year the wet sand has been good to me. How do you decide between the wet sand and the dry sand digging?
The problem with the wet sand is that there's more people digging it. But if you have a crowd, you know, like it's the 4th of July, the next morning you should be in the dry sand. You know, or they have a big concert out there, be in the dry sand. But normally the wet sand, for every ring that's lost in the dry sand, I believe 6 or 7 are lost out in the water. When people get in that cold water, their hands shrink and the rings, they go. And so your odds of finding rings, you know, are much better in the wet sand. And if you're planning your vacation, you know, you're going to plan go ahead and do some research and try to time your vacation with a full moon or a new moon.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Tides make a big difference. I have another question here off of Facebook, and it's from Rick Tumbleson, and he's asking, how do hunters like us on the West Coast time our visit to the East Coast?
Well, the easiest way is to make friends with somebody like myself that'll give you a call when things look good. Before I found my first Spanish coin, there was 4 guys that got a call from somebody that lived on the East Coast and said the conditions look good, and they went down to Bond Steel Park. Those 4 guys found 5 half reals, right? And I was hunting with them doing the same thing. I didn't find anything, but they had a friend that told them it's looking good, show up. So I think that's probably would be the key, is just try to find somebody, it's a friend over there that's in the know, either that or just, you know, do the full moon and the new moon. Sure.
Yeah.
You got my number.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
got my number, right, Terry?
Yes, I do. It's in my phone now, Phil.
Absolutely. All righty, friends. Well, it looks like we're getting close to that hour, aren't we, Jeff?
And we are indeed. It has flown by.
Yes, it has. It always does. Well, Terry, I want to be the first to thank you for coming on with me again, and also for the new book here. And folks, we do have this in the shop, so if you want to get it, we've got all 3 of Terry's books, and they're all autographed, of course, because I asked him to do that for me before he sends them over. So thank you for doing that, Terry. Thank you for doing the program with us. And thank you, Jocelyn, for handing me the questions and keeping me in line here. And thank you, Jeff. And hopefully, Terry will get to hunt with you sometime before the new year.
In
I'm
November.
looking forward to it, and I want to thank you. I'm very honored to be on your program, and
It's fun.
I'm also honored to call both you friends.
Absolutely. It's been fun.
Well, it's
Good luck out there.
It is definitely our privilege, Terry, and we will be down to hunt with you in November when we do this thing we got planned for Treasure Tales. So it's going to be a really good time, and we'll make sure we get it on the air, probably live. So Terry, I want to thank you again. Your knowledge is immense, and you're always just so good about just helping and sharing the knowledge with people. And there's a lot of people that just don't want to do that, and you are the most sought after guest on this show. And we want you to know that, and we certainly appreciate it. So thank you very much for coming to join us tonight. And we're going to say good night now. But next week, Trevor from Coil Tech will be here to give us an update on the new Knox Series coils from Coil Tech. So I hope everybody will come and join us, and we'll have another good show. And Terry, looking forward to coming down, and you drive careful when you come back down in October. So, and I'm looking for my phone to ring to come down there and hunt.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. Have a great evening. Good luck.
All right. Thank you, guys. Happy hunting.
Good night.
Dig deeper.
Good night, everybody.